sustainability starts not at the gate of the factory, but before that. You have to look at the iron ore quality or the scrap quality and remove as much as gang in the case of iron ore, or as much of non-metallic as possible before it reaches the factory. The transport has to be as economically possible, not only in terms of money but also in terms of carbon, and those things are not really factored in. I think there's fancier names for that. I'm not aware of that, but in India, it's not being factored in at all. We have to look at how to reduce the gang in iron ore to get better quality of DRI. Uh, uh, Beneficiation is obviously one answer. Secondly, we have all not gone into gas-based DRI at all. None of us have. The last gas-based steel plant, gas-based DRI plant was made by, in those days, SR, now Arcelor, around 15 years back, the last module. ArcelorMittal around the world is looking at gas-based, not in India. Why? That's something that the policy makers have to figure out, why gas is not being looked at by India at all. We're now looking at a gas grid from Bombay to Jharsuguda, literally. Yeah, but gas-based DRI is not being looked at for economical reasons, for risk reasons, and that 2.2 brings it down to 1.8 using DRI, gas-based DRI. The 3% quality that you mentioned, JSW is using gas-based DRI in both their plants with iron ore of 63-64% and not that 66-67%. You get lesser efficiency, but at the end of the day, it's still greener than coal-based DRI or than blast furnace.
The only thing is they are mixing it with their hot metal, which is available from the blast furnace. So you have to look at
the last greenfield mega plant that was made was again the erstwhile Bhushan and now Tata and this, where it is a combination. Okay, that because of the chemistry of pig iron and DRI, one being surplus in chemical, in carbon, the other being lesser, the energy efficiency comes very well. And that's what JSW is achieving that. So I think the options on the table have to be looked at beyond. If you want to go from 2.5 as a country to 2.2, 2.1, it has to be looked at beyond the current option and just improving that. One technology you mentioned, gas-based technology, so there have to be much more usage of other options.
Yeah. So the two most significant developments in this whole carbon transition is a case in point is the H2 green steel plant which is coming up in Sweden, where they are going to be a zero emission company using hydrogen alone for reducing DRI. And the second one is Boston Metals, which is actually what we are doing, but what they are doing is they're reducing iron ore directly in electrical arc furnaces. So it is a case in point where they are saying that we are not going to emit anything, and they are going to do it by something what they call as molten oxide something. There's a MOE is the process, and they are building the first plant in Brazil. So lot of global innovation for us to catch up to.
I just wanted to stretch the thought to the supply chain also, because when we talk about a holistic compensation or making it a net zero, you have to consider both the inbound and the outbound chain also. So the raw material which you are procuring through import, coming via ocean, coming to your factories via trucks, and then of course your finished goods going externally via trucks or rail is also a bigger carbon element. So when you look comprehensively from the policy standpoint, the ESG norms have to calculate all this when you want to measure the carbon efficacy across a per ton consumed versus per ton produced and delivered to the consumer. Now, if you really look from the modal's perspective, of course, ships are the easiest form in terms of the lowest carbon emission. It's somewhere around 32 to 38 grams per ton per kilometer. If you take it to the rail, it is about 110 grams per ton per kilometer. And if you take it to the road, it's about 400 grams per ton per kilometer. So most of the emphasis has to come towards optimizing how you are going to use the models, how you are going to shift your raw material strategy and the FG strategy to better models which are less carbon emissions. Start measuring this, and that is when the true picture of how the carbon optimization can come into picture will be clearer for the organizations.